crafters, and welcome back. My name is Deepa from DeeZinesByD, and today I have another Scrappy Tails post for you. So today I'm sharing this beautiful butterfly window card, which has all of these beautiful florals inside that butterfly window. Now this is going to be a Mother's Day card that is coming around the corner. And I've used a bunch of products from the new Scrappy Tails release. So I've got here the Spring Wreath. You can see you get a wreath you can cut out and a bunch of dies for the florals that you can use to build up your wreath. I've got the Heartfelt Wings set here. I'm not going to use the stamp. I'm just going to be using the die set here. And then I've also got the Spread Your Wings set, which is mainly going to be used for the sentiments. And I've also got the pattern paper. Now, I don't end up using this in my card design at the end of the day, but it was a thought. I did want to try and use it, and I'll show you what my thoughts were. I didn't end up using it in the end, but I'll probably save that for another video for you guys. So now the first thing we want to do is pick a color scheme, or at least that's the first thing I do. I've got some greens and a lot of pinks and reds here. And I'm going to start off by cutting out that large wreath. So I've grabbed the lighter green cardstock, the darker green cardstock that I have, and I've cut out the wreath. I've chosen the lighter green cardstock to cut out all the little fronds. I've also got these tiny little fronds that I've cut out of some gold glitter cardstock. Now for the roses, I'm cutting them out of two colors. I've got the red and then this peach color. And you'll notice that I keep all the roses connected. I didn't disconnect all of them, and that just makes it easier to cut 6 roses at a time on the red, and then you can see I can just place that on top and cut all of the peach all together. It just saves some time on die cutting, especially if you're someone who likes putting the stuff together but not exactly cutting it all out like myself. Now there is this die that has like these small little tulip type flowers. I cut that out from some of the green cardstock, and then I've also cut it out of some of the white and then the light pink, and I'll use those to paper piece that little tulip together. And then there's also these small little flowers which come with the set, which I cut out of some kind of like grapefruit colored cardstock and some white cardstock as well. So the way that the wreath is made is that you kind of just piece all of those little die cuts together to build up that wreath. Now moving on, I'm going to go ahead and work on the butterfly window. So that one large butterfly that's included in the Heartfelt Wings Stamp Set is perfect for this. So I'm not using the stamp, I'm just using the die that you would use to cut it out. And that's how I'm going to create my window. I've chosen this like bluish gray kind of cardstock here. I've centered it in the cardstock and cut that out. And you can see that that panel I've cut is actually a little bit smaller than 5 inch by 7 inch because I want a bit of a border around it. So it's actually 4 3/4 by 6 3/4. Then I cut out the butterfly window, and now you can see I'm placing it on my card base. So this is a 5 by 7 inch card base, and I'm simply tracing that butterfly exactly where I'm going to place this window down. And the trace marks, see, you can't even really see it here in the video. They're so light. It's really just a guideline for where you're going to place all your florals, so that when you do put down your butterfly window, you have lots of florals that are just popping through, and it's really going to make that butterfly stand out. Now to start, I've got the spring wreath, and I'm not going to use the wreath, okay? What I want to do is I want to cut this up into smaller pieces. So I'm just kind of cutting around the design, mainly around where the bunches of flowers are. So I'm separating the bunches of flowers. I think I end up with about 5 to 6 separate pieces at the end. And don't worry about cutting off part of the design. Maybe, you can see I just did a straight cut a lot of the time. And it's not a big deal. We have all those extra fronds and the little flowers and all of those pieces that we die cut to cover up those rough edges and just to make it more complete. And I do recommend cutting out some extra pieces, not just enough for the spring wreath, but maybe like a few more to also fill in your butterfly later on, which I'll get to when we get to that point. So here, all I'm basically doing is I'm paper piecing that portion of the wreath together. I put 2 of the red flowers there, which is a nice bright red, which I find works with that peach color and the light pink, and especially these greens. Adding the pinks give it more of a neutral tone versus just red and green Christmas colors. And then what I also like to do is for that little tulip, you can see I've added the white tulip piece on top of the green leafy bit. And then I've also got the light pink I've kind of cut the little center to make that look like a little bit different. I mean, you can add that extra color or you don't have to. And I think that's the greatest thing about this these paper piecing sets. You have that main base, which is all green. So even these little frond bits, which I'm filling in here, I'm adding the gold glitter cardstock there. You could just leave that if you don't want to mess around too much with the finicky little pieces, or maybe you don't have enough time, or you want to kind of streamline this design to be a little bit faster to put together. So I would maybe just cut out the roses, the small little flowers, and those longer green fronds, and then I'd skip out on the tulips maybe and the little gold glitter fronds, which are a little bit more finicky to work with. And you could put it together that way as well. I mean, it's completely up to you, and every little modification you make makes your design unique. So you can see now I've got this together. There is like a portion there where the tulip is with the frond where it looks a little weird because they overlapped. So I'm just going to haphazardly just grab one of the smaller flowers and just put it over top. And that's why I mentioned to cut some extra, because you know a lot of these will fit into the spots that they're meant to go, but then when you have these overlaps that you kind of want to cover up because they look a little silly, this is what you do. Just cover it up with a little flower. So now that I have the first frond done, I want to just do a bit of experimenting. I normally keep this out of my videos, but I just wanted to show you my creative process. I've put the butterfly on one of the pattern papers that kind of works with the color of that window. And then I've put down the floral pattern to see if it works. Now in the end, I decided that I'd rather go with the white background. It just makes those florals pop a little more. But you know, in the future, if you wanted to and you think it looks nice for whatever your purposes are, you could always put a pattern paper behind that butterfly if you want. Or say you don't want to add all the florals. Just create a clear butterfly window and add any pattern paper in the background, which really it makes for quicker cards, so you could actually mass produce them in that way. So here I'm showing you another smaller frond that I'm putting together. I'm putting it together in the exact same way as the first. I just thought I'd show you a couple of these. I'm not going to show all of them because it's basically the same paper piecing situation I've got going on. So this is just a little bit of extra footage of that for you guys. And I do again want to apologize for my voice. It's kind of in and out. I've been battling this cold, this like upper respiratory tract infection that just will not go. And so I feel like I apologize in every single one of my videos. So sorry about that, and I hope that you can still hear me pretty clearly in order to get the instructions in order to create these cards. So yeah, we'll get that out of the way and let's continue with our paper piecing here. So I've got this piece done, and then as I mentioned, I went ahead and did all the other pieces off camera. Now I'm working on my sentiment, and this is where I'm pulling out that Spread Your Wings stamp set. Now the Spread Your Wings stamp set is really nice in that it has some generic sentiments that you can use, and then it also has Mother's Day sentiments. So it is, I think Mother's Day is what, May 9th? Or, I don't know. It's coming soon. It's like, I know my anniversary, my husband and I got married May 10th, and it's always around that time. So I know it's coming. And I just gone ahead and I've stamped out 2 of the sentiments there and heat embossed it with some Altenew Rose Gold embossing powder. I thought the gold would just kind of go nicely with that gold glitter paper that's also on the wreath or on those floral pieces. Now I'm just going to grab the coordinating dies and cut out these sentiments. I absolutely love that for all of the stamp sets, that I've gotten so far, they always have a coordinating die to cut out the sentiments. And you don't always get that in stamp sets. Sometimes the sentiments are just left without dies to cut them out, or there'll only be like a few of them. I absolutely love that feature with Scrappy Tails products, that there's always the die to cut it out that you can purchase, all of the sentiments, even the small little ones. Okay, so moving on. I now have my card base. So remember, we drew that outline of the butterfly, and this is where it comes in handy. So you don't have to keep everything inside those lines. I just want to point that out. You do want your florals to kind of overlap those lines, to go over the edge, so that when you do put that window on top, you kind of have florals that go right up to the edge of that butterfly that's been cut out. And that's essentially what I'm doing here. So I'm just making sure that as I add my florals, I'm concentrating them in that trace area with a bit of overlap or flowing out from those lines. And then I'm also filling in the butterfly as much as possible, because the more you fill it in with the florals, you have less of the white space. And it's just going to show up nicer when you put that window piece on top. So now I've got all of those paper piece bits from the wreath on there. I'm going to add those extra bits. As I said, cut out some extra pieces. I've got some extra roses, some extra leaf fronds, and then those small little flowers. So I'm just going to start to fill up the little white spaces that I couldn't fill up with those wreath bits. And that's just going to make this design a bit more cohesive without any, little empty white spots. Now, if you wanted, you could change up the design a bit and maybe leave an empty piece of white in the center of the butterfly to put your sentiment instead of adding it on top of that blue piece like I'm going to do. But it's completely up to you. You can always alter the design a little bit here and there, and it just makes your design more unique to you and your style and what you like. I can imagine that you could also make kind of like a plate, like just cut out a square and stamp your sentiment on there and put that in the middle as well. That would look nice as well. Yeah, so the possibilities are really endless here. Now that I've got all of the florals put down, I'm actually going to go ahead and add some foam tape to that window piece that we cut out. If you wanted, you could actually make this a shaker card. I didn't want it to be a shaker. You could add some little clear shaker beads on top, add a piece of acetate to create a window here, a closed window. That would work as well. But here you can see I'm using a mix of foam, some thinner, some bigger, just to really, make sure that this is going to be adhered down. And any of those little intricate pieces, like what's around the body of the butterfly and the antenna, those are going to be nicely adhered to my card, and they're not going to lift up or get caught on anything. So I removed all of the backing from the foam, and now I'm just going to place this on top of the card using that traced line and the edges to create a border as a guideline. Now look how nice that looks once you've got the window and those florals just popping through. So now all I have to do is add my sentiments. So I've got the Happy Mother's Day and then to the best mom in the world. I'm just going to add some foam squares to those to kind of prop them up a little bit and add them. I thought that they stand out a little bit more on that blue portion of the background versus on the floral part. And then I also have an extra rose here that I'm going to kind of position just above the sub sentiment, and part of it is stuck down. That's why I kind of placed it there before I put down the sentiment, and now I'll just add a foam square right behind to completely adhere it. Okay, so now it's time for my favorite part, which is the embellishment portion of putting this card together. Now I mentioned this in all my videos, but Scrappy Tails does carry a lot of embellishment packs now. And I like that you can choose between packs that just include one type of embellishment, or you can choose packs like this, which have a nice mix. So this one has a mix of like small heart sequins, and then you've got the pink iridescent gems, and then you've also got the gold pearl. So I've added a mix of the pink and the gold pearl onto my card here. I thought that it just looked nice, and there's a bit of pink in those little tulips, so I thought that would kind of bring that out there. And that's pretty much it. Now, that's my card for you. I hope you guys have been inspired to create something similar yourself. I love the idea of the window with the florals inside. Don't forget to check out the Scrappy Tails store. All the products that I've used are linked within my blog, which is linked in the description below. If you want to head straight to the store, there's a link there in my description as well. So if you guys have liked my video, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.